for against one team. Small.
Okay, go ahead.
That's true.
The team with the number 1 seed in the NFC?
Yes, that's exactly why I wanted to point that out. Because your squad, the Green Bay Packers, are the number 1 seed in the NFC. Even though it doesn't... Wow, Pat.
Eagles fan.
Wow. Why the sound effect there?
Does anyone feel like they're the 1 seed in the NFC?
That's the theme. That's the storyline, is that no one feels like they're the 1 seed, but then you look over and you're like, wait, they only have 1 loss. Who's that loss to? It's to the Cleveland Browns. Not exactly the greatest loss in the world, but they are the 1 seed. It is weird. It doesn't feel like that, obviously.
Didn't that game win our bracket of the worst loss of the season?
Yes.
Did
Packers-Browns.
it?
Yeah, I believe they emerged victorious as the worst loss of the season, per Unsportsmanlike.
Congratulations.
Hey, we're number 1.
Sure.
Worst loss, number 1 seed. Number 1 all around.
The Cleveland Browns are always a big topic of conversation because of their quarterback depth chart. This week, the 2-5 Browns are on the road at 5-2 New England. And Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Browns, had this to say when asked about Shedeur Sanders getting first-team reps.
No. I mean, with a young quarterback with Dillon starting, you want to make sure he gets a lot of the reps. Different when you have a veteran like Joe, I would tell you. But still getting reps in a bunch of periods.
What's interesting is that on a day like today, and if you missed any of the first hour of the show, go back on the podcast here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance. We talked a ton about the unbelievable performance by Wemby last night, 40 points, about the Knicks win over the Cavs, opening night kind of in the NBA, as Shaq called it on Inside the NBA here on ESPN, Tron, the real opening night, Thursday night football, Lamar coming back to practice, that a backup quarterback in Cleveland who has not played still can make headlines. Let's start with this. Is there any issue with the backup not getting first-team snaps here when Dillon Gabriel is your starter?
I thought that Kevin Stefanski said earlier in the year that he is focused on the development of all of his young quarterbacks. Isn't that what he said? He was focused on the development of Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. That's what he got us. And now we're at the place where you're not going to get Shedeur reps. You're not going to prepare him for the games, knowing that he could be the number 2 quarterback, knowing that he's 1 hit away from going in. How does that make sense?
What's normal
from a readiness standpoint? How does that make sense? Usually, a backup quarterback will get 15 to 20% of the reps in practice with the first team.
First team, okay.
Yeah, just so he's prepared to go in the game if he has to. Right? So if you have a team period of 12 snaps, the backup quarterback will get 2 to 3. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is abnormal that
the fact that he's not is weird, and I don't understand it. Now, from a mental standpoint, you don't want to shake the confidence of your young quarterback in Dillon Gabriel, especially since he's been uneven across his first 3 starts. So maybe there is a little bit of protecting him to keep him from looking over his shoulder when it comes to the Shedeur of it all, because the media is clamoring for it. The fan base certainly wants to see it. Everybody wants number 12 in a Browns jersey to get out there so they can see what he wants to do, because he is one of the most polarizing figures in the NFL, mostly through no fault of his own. So maybe this is Kevin Stefanski trying to shield Dillon Gabriel from all of that. But to that, I would say, if you're that worried about the fragility of his mental state, then he's probably not your franchise quarterback anyway.
Yeah, that would surprise me if that is the route that they were taking, because Dillon Gabriel, if you're the starter, you're always going to have a backup. If you don't perform well, there's always going to be people in the media and in the fans on social media clamoring for someone else. That's something that comes with the territory if you're going to be a franchise quarterback. So I would be surprised if that was the case. But the way you laid it out, CC, that normally the backup would get a certain percentage of the reps, and the fact that Shedeur isn't does raise some eyebrows as to why not. I'm wondering what the motive is here for the Browns to not make sure that he's at least somewhat ready in a God forbid type scenario if Dillon Gabriel can't go and he needs to go out there and be the starter.
Yeah, I mean, I've been rooting for Shedeur. I just don't think there's more than meets the eye here. Like, I guess I'm kind of looking at it at its surface. Like, we talked about the J.J. McCarthy situation with Carson Wentz Thursday Night Football tonight with the Vikings and the Chargers. So we talked about how weird it is that when J.J. McCarthy was considered injured, and I believe he is injured, like, this is a longer time period seemingly than they expected him to be back, and the is he that good question arises. I think you have 2 rookie quarterbacks, and the one that's starting has only had 3 games. I don't see that Dillon Gabriel is on the hot seat. I don't see that maybe this is his last start. I don't see that they're going to use the season to get reps for both of them. Every indication is they feel, for better or worse, they feel like Dillon Gabriel gives them the better option now and later, and thus he's the starting quarterback. Now, you could say, well, why do they feel that way? Why don't they like Shedeur more? One was a third-round pick, one was a fifth-round pick. That's usually how it happens.
Yeah, but
I don't see the conspiracy
we have
theory
to acknowledge that this is not your typical fifth-round pick.
Of course, because forget even the last name, because he was supposed to be a first-round pick. So when you have a first-round pick,
but the last name is a part of what's baked in there in terms of why he wasn't a first-round pick.
Right, but I'm saying there's two parts of this, right?
Okay.
There's remember La'el Collins, the offensive lineman from LSU, who goes undrafted because there were
it was accusations of a murder.
Right, which it was not true at all that he was involved in, right? And so he dropped from literally a first-round pick to not drafted at all. That in itself is a story. When you add the last name, it's an even bigger story, in this case, Sanders. But the critics, and I'm not one of Shedeur, but the critics would maybe tell you, well, maybe he was only a first-round pick in terms of speculation because of the last name. So did he go in the fifth round because of the last name, or was he considered a first-rounder because of the last name? I don't know the answer because I haven't seen him play in the NFL. It just seems to me like the Cleveland Browns, again, for better or worse, and I'm not suggesting this is the organization that you should have blind faith to the quarterback position in, obviously, but for better or worse, they deem Dillon Gabriel as the better player now and the one they want to get a longer look at. I don't think he's on the clock. You guys do? You think if Dillon Gabriel has a kind of blah performance against a really smart New England defense, you think all of a sudden Shedeur's in?
Well, I don't know what the motive is inside the building. And by that I mean, is the motive to determine what you have across the board in your quarterback room so you can be informed moving into next year's draft as to what you have? Or is your motive to see what the guy who you drafted first in this quarterback room, obviously Dillon Gabriel taken in the third round, Shedeur in the fifth, is to get enough runway for him to make a very informed decision on him specifically? And it feels like that's where we're trending, is that they want to make sure that Dillon Gabriel gets enough of a runway as a rookie quarterback being inserted into this position at a certain point in the season that they know definitively what they have in him, not necessarily in the quarterback room as a whole.
Here's what I'll say. We saw 4 games with Joe Flacco. We're going into the 4th game with Dillon Gabriel. They've got a bye week after that. If Dillon Gabriel doesn't show better than he has in the first 3 outings, then Shedeur Sanders' time needs to be then. They should take the bye week, extra week to prepare to get Shedeur Sanders ready to go into the game. This season has always been about the Cleveland Browns getting as much information about the quarterbacks that they have under contract so they can make an informed decision about how they move forward with that position in 2026. We got to keep in mind, Deshaun Watson is entering the window to return to practice. He's going to be in the mix in the second half of the season.
That's insane to me.
So that's a November, December proposition. You owe it to yourself through the investment in the draft pick in Shedeur Sanders, and quite frankly, the confidence that you showed in him by being willing to trade away Kenny Pickett, a guy that you gave away a draft pick for earlier this offseason in order to keep him on your active roster. You owe it to yourself to find out what Shedeur Sanders can and cannot do. You absolutely do. And so to me, it is a missed opportunity if they stay the course with Dillon Gabriel after the bye, if Dillon Gabriel doesn't show significant improvement against the New England Patriots this weekend.
So let's say you're right about this. What's the point of Dillon Gabriel having ever played?
What do you mean? To learn whether